Huh? Hmm. That's better. Boom Studios has decided to release their brand new Kickstarter, and this has got me kind of like, why is this? You know this would sell and you don't need a Kickstarter for this. If you don't know, in the 30th anniversary comic book to celebrate the 30th of Power Rangers, Boom decided to release kind of like multiple shorts, and one of them was the kind of like what would happen if Kimberly stayed with Tommy. It's that sort of thing. I wasn't much of a fan for it because every single time a actor from Mighty Morphin decides to throw their hand into the kind of creative pool, they just know what's happened. And again, I'm not going to blame them not for knowing everything that happens 30 odd years and them going through everything to kind of get inspiration on actually making a genuine story. It feels like they just kind of forget about everything whatsoever and just kind of go like, hey, we're going to make what we want. And that's all that matters on that one. And it kind of really irritates me because I generally think that they could easily do some other stuff. But yeah, it's like, hey, let's forget all about that, what's happened. Let's forget about Kat. Let's forget about JJ. Let's forget about all that sort of stuff. Let's mainly focus on us. And that is it. And it was kind of an interesting thing. I'm not going to say it's completely shit. I'm curious to know about it. And this is what kind of made me go, why is a Kickstarter happening on this so far? But let me explain. Normally when Boom throws in a Kickstarter, I kind of feel like this is to catch up. You weren't able to get all of the actual comic books. Hey, let's make this into a hardback cover that you can display, and it will have everything from like issue 0 to current day. And I kind of see this happening all the way through because they're not going to slow down. I don't think they're going to start say at the end of next year, hey, this is going to end. I feel like it's going to carry on for as long as we can imagine. And I feel like Boom Studios are going to release more of these kind of hardback ones to kind of complete an entire collection. I would do that because, hey, it makes money. People want it. Lots of people have backed this other one. But seeing as this one here, this entire new one that Amy Jo Johnson is writing, I kind of feel like this should have been a normal one. Very similar to Sins of the Future, Soul of the Dragon, and anything that's major like that, because they sell and they're very interesting. That's the ones that I kind of like because it's a one-shot. It's not something where it's a continuation or anything like that. It is effectively, here is its own story. Go read it if you want it and you can pick it up. And this is something that I would possibly actually buy because it does have my interest on this. I know that this is going to sell. The fandom knows it's going to sell because it has Amy's like name on it, so everyone is going to be wanting to buy it and then get her to sign it because this will be a big thing and she'll be ecstatic because people are buying her and her boyfriend's comic book. So yeah, like this is a no-brainer. This would sell so fast, and you could sell it with multiple variants because, hey, like people would collect it. And as a comic book collector myself, I would buy probably all the really cool looking variants or all the variants that I could get over here rather than like kind of looking for hours and buying the most expensive ones. But this makes me think that it would sell out completely. So why isn't this a major normal release rather than a Kickstarter? Now, the Kickstarter hasn't gone live from the time of this recording, so we have some enough time, and I will literally look at it and go, hey, let's talk about it because, hey, it's Power Ranger news. I like looking at Power Ranger news, and I want to see what you can get for your money effectively. Now, the name is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return. But where's it return from? Because last time I checked, the last issue was Mighty Morphing. The entire franchise of Boom is Mighty Morphing. And effectively, you know, Power Rangers always comes back down to Mighty Morphing. There's nothing major to make it return. So I don't know if Amy's just like, oh man, I haven't actually checked Netflix for a while. Oh man, 30th? Oh man, like there's nothing there. So we're going to call it The Return because there's been no other Power Rangers ever. After I left, that's it. Power Rangers stopped. After Catherine took my spot after season 3, it stopped. It's never returned. What? A Mystic Force? What's that? Anyway, you get what I mean. So I don't know why it's called The Return because it just feels like it's returning from a week off. Like we know it's like the Power Rangers originally are returning. I would have come up with a better name. In the comic at the very end, it's called Reimagine, which I think would have been a better name than The Returning, because people are going to meme on it, and people already have. We're going to be looking at that in a moment. The name could have been chosen better, I think. Now, I don't know if Hasbro is actually funding this, because it would make more sense. Boom Studios isn't by far a small company that has only got a few titles. They have huge things from like Steven Universe, Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, Regular Show, to Ben 10. I think some of the bigger ones that they have, it's like Firefly and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But by all means, this is not a small studio, so I imagine that they could have at least funded this themselves rather than getting kind of a Kickstarter, because it just doesn't make sense. And considering that you've kind of teased this, you've shown it, you've already done the artwork, you've probably finished the entire book itself. So why are you starting a Kickstarter? To me, it doesn't really make sense. And again, we're going to be looking at some of the responses to this in a moment. I think the main thing is, if this hadn't been previewed whatsoever, if this had just popped up and, you know, it's like, hey, Amy and her boyfriend are writing this, we're going to be starting a Kickstarter because, you know, we want to do it this way and give you amazing goodies that way, I would have been like, yeah, cool, that's awesome. But we've already seen previews of it. We've already like known about it. And one thing is this just a Kickstarter thing? Does this mean that this will come out on its own, or am I going to have to back the Kickstarter to get a basic copy of it? Because I don't want to spend a lot of money on this. I would rather spend about £10 or whatever it is buying this book and going, okay, I'm enjoying it for what it is, rather than going, oh god, man, I've got to spend like maybe $100 to get the basic terms or something like that. Now also, I don't understand why Hasbro isn't backing it themselves, because mainly you think they would do because it's Mighty Morphing, but you kind of think that maybe Hasbro would have joined in and gone, here you go, see what this is. Like, this is something, a big thing, you know, you're getting a past actor to write all of this, so you think Hasbro would throw a little bit of money towards Boom's way and saying, yeah, here you go, here is this. It's just kind of really weird in my eyes. Now, jumping over to Twitter, this is when Martian Ranger actually found this, and this was kind of brought to everyone's attention. And I kind of really want to see on some of the reactions, some of the quote tweets, because some of this has been actually kind of interesting. So let's kind of jump into it. Lost Media says, another Kickstarter? Psycho Red says, can we move away from MMPR? And you kind of think so, and I'm going to be making another video on that later on. The Chairman says, guys, there are like 30 more seasons of Power Rangers other than Mighty Morphing. What return? They return every fucking year or so. Enough already. Nick says, I definitely wouldn't mind a Kickstarter for a different Ranger season. That I'd understand a little better due to popularity, like an RPM continuation. Entertainment says, Amy's story is the anniversary issue, was the worst story in there. Why are we wanting to build off that? Now, again, I'm going to kind of go on that one, because I actually generally really want to know more, because I want to see how the story changes, rather than it just being like, hey, we're the Power Rangers. You know, it's like, why is the moon destroyed? You know, what happened when the Rangers went off to the moon to take on Rita? That's what I kind of want to see. So I don't really mind. If I had to choose a really bad story, then I probably would say Ernie or something like that. Felix says, Kickstarter? Is Boom having major financial difficulties? What's the deal here? Shredder says, Zeo, In Space, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, RPM, all would have been better choices. Gert goes, of course, MMPR again? I fully agree with Sanya, says, someone please give Jungle Fury some love. I agree wholeheartedly. I want to see Jungle Fury get some love. Buzzkill goes, oh man, MMPR is returning? It's been so long. Yeah, it's been like a week. My god, I'm so glad that we're finally getting it there. Dear god, please, thank you, Boom. Thank you for bringing this to our attentions. Whining says, wait, MMPR? We never get content for that series. And that's 100% true. We never do. What the hell? A lot of people now are turning around and having a go, but Daniel is the first person that I've seen so far that, you know, has actually turned around and given another side. And he says, look, I find it just as weird. A bigger comic publisher is making a Kickstarter, but we don't know how expensive a big license like PR is. While it may be the most successful series of Boom, it may also be the most expensive one. And yeah, we can look into that. But I feel like if it's super expensive, then, you know, why don't we have more Kickstarters for this? Like, you know, hey, could you kickstart the entire thing for the darkest hour, and that could have been a thing. So I don't know if it's going to be big. I think like maybe they get a percentage. That's why we get so many covers. But I don't know if it's going to be super expensive. I just think that with this Kickstarter, to me, this is a huge thing where it's just like, hey, we need more money for this. Hawkley says, I hate any big companies doing Kickstarters. Why'd somebody use Photoshop Hard Edge Eraser on the bottom of the logo? Yes, why did they do that actually? It's a bit weird. Cosmic says, I don't know how I feel about this. Ash Deoxy360, a big friend of the channel, says, I know that I'm the Power Rangers comics guy, but I don't know if I'll fund this one. And I'm on the same side, like maybe if it's to get a basic cover or something, I'll throw something in there. But again, I'm not a big, I don't know, I want to see, and we'll be talking about this later on. Captain Subpar says, if it's just a regular series, why do you need a Kickstarter? Can't Boom just make it? Is there going to be a fancier version available? I need more info. And I generally think that you could have released all of this in one go, rather than being like, coming soon. One of the last ones that we're going to end on, I think this is cool. And it says like, really glad a small company like Boom Studios is giving the spotlight to an underrated and lesser known show like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And I think that is the best comment that I've seen so far. Geek with Chris says, not interested. Lazy Knight says, for fuck's sake, Boom Studios, you have 27 years of content you can expand on, and you're still insisting on milking this already dried cow. And please ditch the other teams will merely be special guests and MMPR stuff. Shit, and give each team their own story. Enough is enough. Personally, I think that they are just kind of milking this. I feel like because you have the Amy Jo Johnson attached to this, people are going to buy it regardless because that's what they want. They want to kind of feel like, hey, maybe if we put a name to it, this will sell out and we'll make more money. Now, one of the other questions I have is, what am I going to do? Like, is this going to be an official release later on, or, in a comic book form, like spread over like, a month or two? Or do I have to support the Kickstarter to get the fancy version to actually have everything in there? I just feel like there's tons of stuff. Like, I'm hoping that they'll answer all of this coming up. But again, I feel like they've just done this because they know that people are going to buy Mighty Morphing, and with having Amy's name on it, it's going to be one of the biggest things, and that's going to draw people in from all around. For people who never really read the comics, don't really support it, but just collect official Power Ranger merchandise that actually has like Ranger actors' names to it. So I feel like if Austin did one, if Walter did one, if David did one, they all kind of worked on this and made their own versions, that they would also get their own Kickstarters. But yeah, I kind of wanted to make a video on this. I kind of really wanted to do it a little bit more different to it and kind of talk and give my thoughts on it. Yes, I will support it if it comes out as a standard one. I'm going to look at the Kickstarter when it drops and see if it's going to be worth the money, or am I just going to pass on it and I'll just kind of read it wherever I can. Anyway, I kind of want to do it. I know this video is a little bit of a long one, but hey, let me know what you think down below in the comments. I am going to leave it there. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. And if you want to help out the channel because, Kickstarter is coming up, then why not look at the Patreon as well as the join the YouTube channel memberships for the channel. That would be a big help. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimona Cat, Kira Stanada, Micah Baldwin. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。